Hey everyone, in one of my recent video, I talked about whether software developers' job might be at risk by 2035 and how AI is transforming our industry faster than we ever imagined. I can bet you today one thing that in the current year, that is at 2025, the web development is evolving rapidly. It's completely different. I'm not just looking at AI tools like GitHub Copilot or Amazon's Code Whisper writing code for you in terms of JavaScript and HTML. No, I'm talking about the web apps which are going to be built from 2025, and it's all about how users are interacting. The developers like you and me need to adapt. In this video, we will explore how AI-driven web applications are transforming the landscape of web developments. In fact, I like to call this entire shift as agentic web developments. A term I'm coining to describe the next evolutions of web apps, where AI doesn't just assist about or assist, but actively drives interactions and decisions makings. And as a web developers, we need to understand these complete transformations and adapt to stay ahead. To understand where we are headed, let's take a quick look at how web development has evolved. In the traditional web developments era from 90s to 2010, we as developers primarily built static HTML pages that later evolved into dynamic web applications using technology like PHP, ASP.NET, jQueries, and other set of technologies. Users interacted through clicks, forms, menus. Developers works on a clear front-end back-end segregations, managing monolithic architecture and server-side renderings. Backend development was pretty much focused on SQL database, sessions-based authentications, and RESTful APIs. Now, with modern web developments, that era starts from 2010s to close to presence, the full stack engineers had to architecture with real time update powered by the WebSockets, Kafka, GraphQL, and other setups technology. The front end landscapes slowly shifted from an MVC kind of architectures to a client side JavaScript libraries like React, Angulars, and Vue, enabling component driven architecture and state managements like Redux and NGRX. Backend developments becomes more serverless and microservice oriented, leveraging Node.js, Python's, .NET Core, or Go. Looking ahead to agentic web apps 2025 and beyond, I think the role of web developer is shifting once again. AI is no longer just an assistant, it is actively automates the workflows, making decisions, and dynamically interacts with users. Traditional UI patterns are evolving into an AI driven interface with chatbots, voice assistant, and predictive AI copilots replacing conventional form of menu. And that is where the full stack developers are hearing some of the complex terms from the data scientist dictionary, like LangChains, retrieval augmented generations, that is RAG, AI agents, knowledge graphs, database, vector database, kind of things. Believe me, I think today's generations, when these terms has been thrown to the full stack developers, it is like an aliens to the web developers. But that is where the enterprise is trying to build and smart context-aware web applications, and that I call it as an agentic web application. So, what exactly are agentic web apps? You have probably seen AI-powered features like chatbots or autocompletes, but agentic web apps go much further. Unlike traditional web applications where users manually navigates to menu, fill out forms, and request data, agentic web apps can understand the user's intent, retrieve data, automate tasks, and even make decisions autonomously. Instead of waiting for users to take actions, the agentic applications proactively assist the users by predicting needs and streamlining workflow. To give you an example of what an agentic application would look like is a AI powered dashboard. Instead of user manually selecting report and filtering data, the AI anticipates what needed, generate insights, and even explains the trend in natural language. Agentic web apps fundamentally now changing the how the user are interacting with the web application, shifting from an manual menu-based experience to a dynamic AI-assisted workflow. And as a developers, we need to understand how to integrate those capability into our applications. Now, the big questions is, will AI replace the web developers? To me, the clear answer is no, because our role is evolving. AI would not replace the developers, whereas it will replace the repetitive task. It is designed to replace the repetitive task. Now, with this agentic web apps revolutions, what I could see is developers would shift from the coding simple menu-driven scroll UIs to designing AI-enhanced workflow. Instead of CRUD apps, we will build AI-powered workflows using Slang Chains, OpenAI API, and many more frameworks which are coming. So the next questions I usually hear from the developer community is, what should we launch to stay relevant? If you're already a decent full stack developer, I would suggest is to evolve your skill sets to build AI-powered agentic-driven web applications. Good part is you have time for next 6 to 8 months to prepare till the enterprises realize what an AI-driven web apps or what an agentic web apps would look like, and before they comes to you, uh, maybe you could enhance your skill set. So here is something I would like to suggest. Number one, being and full stack developers focus something around learning AI basics. You will hear some of those platforms like OpenAI, GPT-4, Azure's OpenAI, Google's Gemini, and similarly some of those platforms. Then you would also hear something called LangChain.js, LangChain's Pythons for workflow orchestrations, or AI embeddings, vector search. Side by side, you can try calling OpenAI API from an web apps, use an AI model for text generation, summarizations, and functions callings. I feel if you could go through the basic of those platforms that I highlighted or the concepts and can leverage your Angular React knowledge to build a simple chatbot which call an OpenAI API or which call an Gemini's API to do in summarizations and some of those stuffs, your foundation is at least covered. Once you launch those AI basics, number two, you could get into the or enhance your front end knowledge. How could you make it AI powered front end developments? You can stress on some of the topics like how could I update the API response from OpenAI dynamically or based on AI feedback? How could I build a conversational UI like chatbot interface, what you could see on OpenAI? How could I integrate website speech APIs? Because that's a multimodal things. What are the real-time API integrations I could do, like server-side events and socket programmings? Or how could I get an API response in streaming technology? So I suggest if you could try your own of creating an AI copilot UI that suggests and fills forms automatically, you are decently covered there. Number three, intelligence backend APIs that supports AI agents. I'm sure you know what an API is. I'm not going to tell you about that. What I recommend is to learn on how to develop APIs for AI agents. So focus on some of the GraphQL API, and you would keep on hearing some of the standards called OpenAI API standards. Yeah. You will also hear terms called retrieval augmented generations and vector database, and also the AI powered search. So you really do not need to get into the technical depth. Those are pretty much available as platforms. You just need to consume API, but you just need to understand how do you integrate that with your front end developments. Number four, you need to understand some of the concepts called multi-agents AI platforms like AutoGPT, BabyGPT, or possibly an AutoGen scenario. If you are an Azure fan, then you can try Azure Agent Service as well. So if you wanted to test your real knowledge, you can try and sample building AI-driven customer support assistants that automate workflow. It is just not in conversational. Maybe a customer asks some things, you could go to some of the database or should give the tractions of the order status, you could generate a ticket and a lot of things. Number five, not very specific, since these agentic web apps would go through a lot of securities scrutinizing. So understanding a little bit around security and deployment would help you to get in good commands over web apps. For examples, what needs prompt injections, or how do you take care of the AI hallucinations, right? And little bit around the ML ops side of things, how do you deploy your agentic web apps, and of course your preferred cloud technologies, and little bit around containerizations and some of those stuffs. But it's again, the number 5 is absolutely optional. That's something possibly you would learn from the experience. So AI is not taking away web developments. It is slowly evolving. The role of web developers like us is shifting from just building static UIs and APIs to integrating AI-powered workflows, real-time automations, and agent-driven experience. Developers who would launch to work with AI, I'm sure they would lead the future of web development, while those who ignore it risk failing behind. That's all in this video. If you find this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for more insights on AI and web development and the future of technologies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.